We're joined now on the phone by someone who's been very helpful to us throughout this process, Jennifer. Rob Weinhold with the Fallston Group, also a former Baltimore City police officer and detective who's very intimately aware of how the police department works. Rob, first of all, I think for a lot of folks, this was a juggernaut today. I'm not sure many people expected charges to be handed down today and then this degree of information coming out from the state's attorney's office. Your opinion of this information being released?
Well, it's certainly something that I've never seen in my career. I can tell you that I think everyone expected the state's attorney's office to receive the information and take quite a bit of time to take a look at all the facts and circumstances while continuing the investigation itself. But I have to tell you that one thing I think is really important is I look at it through a crisis leadership lens. What we saw today was a Marilyn Mosby who was decisive, who is operating with integrity. She really over-communicated, which I think was very, very important, and maintained a sense of transparency with regard to these charges that I think gave everyone a sense of comfort. But to answer your question, clearly, just a very, very monumental day in terms of how this case was handled.
And Rob, do you see public pressure playing a role in how expeditiously these charges were handed down?
I do. I think that with everything going on in Baltimore, the civil unrest, the eyes of the world on an evening and daily basis, taking a look at how Baltimore is handling this from a leadership standpoint. The flashlight was really shined on the criminal justice system here in Baltimore. A question as to whether or not there was integrity within the system itself. Marilyn Mosby had a leadership opportunity. I think what she was smart to do was choose to conduct her independent investigation upon the inception of the incident, and then rely on the investigation folder, so to speak, that the police handed over to corroborate what she had. But what she said in her press conference was that she did not learn anything new, which told me that she really has done a thorough job here. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the decision, you can't argue that she has really emerged as a person taking a leadership stance as it relates to the issues of crisis management.
Yeah, Rob, we know, according to the medical examiner's report, Ms. Mosby talked about this, and we'd heard this before, that Freddie Gray's death was a homicide. At least you can argue the homicide portion is new. People are going to want to know how he died, but what is the likelihood that the public will actually know how he died before the investigation goes to perhaps potentially trial?
I don't think that's likely unless there are leaks. I think the state's attorney's office has said everything that they need to say today. There's going to be a continued investigation as due process moves down the tracks. She issued a stern warning to law enforcement officers and anyone else, detectives, who may have knowledge of the critical evidence in this case, to not say anything or leak any information to preserve the integrity of the case and the criminal justice process. So I don't think that people will find out unless there are leaks, and certainly it will come out if and when the case goes to trial, and then as Freedom of Information Act requests are filed after all of this process is over.
All right, Rob Weinhold from the Fallston Group, security expert and former Baltimore City police officer. Thank you for giving us your expertise on this monumental day.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
Thank you. Well, Governor